hear them coming near, their heart it beats with fear. They say my name in shame. My words they were abused, my healing they misused, and now I stand accused. They came to light the flame, they came to watch me hang and burn my gifts away. But once the smoke's removed, my body's been abused, my soul is watching you. My sisters, we have come, the old and ancient ones, return to bring anew. We won't go in your flame, no, none of us will hang. Our voices we reclaim. The burned witches come, gather everyone, and hear what we to say.
They either A, don't know that they are dead, or B, and that's why every time I see a spirit, the first thing I ask is, do you know that you're deceased? And sometimes they don't. What's really, really rough is when they don't realize, because then you have to, I call it, you have to get them to their root. They are still living in the moment that they last existed in their physical sense. They are still living in that. They are trapped in a loop. So I have a friend and he calls them loopers.
Welcome back to another episode of Awakened Minds podcast. I am your host, Natalie, and today's guest is Abby Lynn. Abby is a producer, an international psychic medium and intuitive. She is a sound and energy healer. She is also a public speaker, and you can find her right here on YouTube. She has a very own YouTube channel as well, which I will link in the description box below. In this video, we are going to unpack Abby's journey, understanding that she had been contacted by extraterrestrials from a very young age, as well as unpacking her very own psychic and intuitive abilities. But we're also going to dive into entities, attachments, souls who haven't quite crossed over, what to do about it, how to understand the language of spirit, and much, much more. But if you guys can stick right through till the end, Abby is going to give you guys a demonstration of her sound healing while channeling dragons. So stay tuned for that, and I'm excited to welcome to the show, Abby.
Thank you so much to both of you guys for having me on the show. I really do appreciate it. So I'm trying to figure out, long story, short story, what's the important parts. So I was connected from a very, very early age, from being a toddler. Remember experiences there. Share them with my parents. They knew about it. I'm very blessed. I always had a very open family, so we could pretty much discuss anything and everything. My mother always had a lot of great esoteric books in the house. I think I was 12 or 13 and I was reading the Celestian Prophecy. So, very, very blessed to have a very open household. And, but I had the one thing that didn't make sense to me was from a very, very early age when maybe I was maybe 5, 6 years old. I lived up in the Appalachian Mountains. And so, I wasn't in the city. We weren't flooded with light. I was up in the mountains. It was just so dark and beautiful. And I loved going outside. I loved always looking up. It was just look up, look up, look up, look up. And every time I would look at just the stars, I just felt and heard home. But it wasn't just a simple word. It was a home like this. It would just reverberate within me. And every time that would happen, I would get tears in my eyes because I would be frustrated, because it didn't make sense to me, because I had a beautiful childhood with my family, very loving, supportive family, loved my childhood. And it didn't make sense why I had such a longing for a place. And when I'm like, no, this is my home. No, this is your home. And so I was having all of these experiences with what I would call my family, my other family. And then I had experiences of dark figures and shadows moving across. I could hear voices in my home. We had a lot of activity, spiritual activity. And so for the longest time, number one, I called it my secret life. I didn't share it with very many friends. When I was younger, I got very, very much more vocal when I got into like past the age of 10. And then, so I called it my secret life, but it was my compartmentalized life. So I had all of the extraterrestrial, multidimensional beings. I actually really don't like calling them ETs. It just doesn't ever feel right. Dimensional beings. And then I had all of this experience with spirit. And I put them in these pockets, right? In these little houses. And I didn't understand why I was having all of this. I was having all of this. And it actually took me until I was in my 30s, my late 30s actually, until I finally realized how all of it fit together. And it really was, I kind of joked, even when I was in college and I had roommates, I joked with them. And my kids, not kids, my friends growing up always knew, well, Abby's house is haunted. Abby's house has all the activity. And some kids were excited to come over for sleepovers, and some were terrified too. And of course,
Really?
I always told them they were ridiculous and they were being stupid and ignorant. So, at any
So
rate,
was the house haunted?
Yes, it was.
Really?
Yes, as a matter of fact, it was.
So, but I want to add this to all of your
I
viewers.
told them they were stupid, but they were right.
Well, no, I said they were stupid because they were afraid. Because I'm like, there's nothing to be afraid.
I got you.
They're not going to do anything to you. They're not going to hurt you. They might be curious and they might be a little annoying. I mean, they would take stuff, like they would take my jewelry. And I remember one time I had this necklace, oh my gosh, in the 90s when the chokers were all in style, and I was wanting to wear it, and it wasn't where it always was. And I asked my sisters, like, did you take it? No, we didn't take your stupid necklace. And so I went in my room and I just said out loud, I know you took it. Give it back to me. I'm walking out of my room. You have 30 minutes. I'm leaving in 30 minutes. You have 30 minutes. Put it back in my room. And before I left, I walked back in my room, and smack dab right in the middle of my bedroom on the floor was my necklace.
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, so sometimes they're just ornery and they take stuff, but when you demand it back, they usually give it back to you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so no, so I want to add to your viewers that it's very rare that a house is haunted. It's usually the land. They're either attached to the land or within the vicinity. And it's not always just, oh, this is my plot of land, so they're only going to be here. They could go up to 15 miles wide and then be attracted to somebody. So it's usually...
Sorry to cut you off real quick. Could you sort of define what it means to have haunted land and, maybe share how we could understand if our land is haunted, what we could do about it to protect our space and things like that?
Absolutely. Well, I'll try my best. so, so a lot of times haunted land or B, and that's why every time I see a spirit, the first thing I ask is, "Do you know that you're deceased?" And sometimes they don't. And that's what's really rough. What's really really rough is when they don't realize, because then you have to, I call it, you have to get them to their root, which
Sorry,
is the root.
I have so many questions. Every time you talk, I'm like, I got another question. So the ones who don't know they've passed, would they be like negative in a sense, or towards the negative side, or?
They're just they are still living
Mm.
in the moment that they last existed in their physical sense. They are still living in that. They are trapped in a loop. So I have a friend
Yeah.
and he calls them loopers.
Oh.
They're stuck in this loop. And I mean, there's I'm learning just as much as you guys are too, right? This is
Right.
a
I
continual
forget that. I
learning.
got to remember that. I do
This is
have
a,
to remember.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
It's
continual
infinite.
learning. Yeah, it is. It's infinite. And I was just talking the other day to somebody. I am at the point where I'm forgetting more than what I know now. Like I have just forgotten so much because it's so much information out there, and I'm just learning, and I'm still trying to. I mean, I had just a session today with a client where I had to ask them because a concept was coming in, and I said, "Can I just have a couple minutes? I need to make sense of this. This is a whole brand new a level of understanding. I didn't realize that this could really happen." So I just sit with it, and it's almost like kind of like dig around into that quantum, and I ask my guides, my higher self, to come in and help me make sense of it. But to get to your point, so when they don't know that they are deceased is very, very, very hard, because they're essentially replaying a script over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really hard to essentially like break them out of that. But if they know that they are deceased, then I ask, "Do you want my help? Do you want my help to cross over, to move past this?" And the only ones that usually don't are ones who I actually was here. I'll give you a great story as to one who was not interested. I led a group of people into, there's a historical hotel here in I'm sorry, jail cell here in Charleston. Over 14,000 people died there. It was built I believe it's 1803 is when it was built. Awful living conditions. And
Wow.
I led it with two other beautiful mediums, or my friends, and we went into there with a group of people. And there was a woman there, and I first connected with her. Like I could see her, but I connected in with how she died. So sometimes they'll let me feel how they passed, and I got the word dysentery, like, oh man, oh, like awful way to die. And
Yeah.
so she shared with me she was responsible for the food at the time, and she along with a lot of other inmates all passed away from dysentery. And she actually showed me the meat that she cooked, and she knew it was bad. It was gray. I mean, it was gray.
Rotten. And yeah.
It was rotten. It was so gross. And she's showing this to me, and
I can almost smell it.
yeah, and she took full blame for it. Like, "I'm the one who killed them. I'm the one who killed them." And so I'm explaining to her, "No, you didn't." And she was crying at this point, and she said, I only have so much money. I only have so much money that I was allowed to spend. I got the best that I could do with the limited funds, the limited resources." And so I, was explaining to her, "There's nothing that you could have done. The conditions were awful. You don't need to stay here. You can cross, you can pass." And she said, "No, I am staying. Why all of those men that I passed with dysentery, while they are still here, I am still here. I'm not leaving them. It was my responsibility." And so for those, I respect their wishes. I'm not going to, you can't
Yeah.
force them to cross. And
That's
so
admirable. I mean,
no,
it might
she
be
just,
misinformed, but it's admirable that she did what you're saying.
absolutely,
Most people couldn't
and
care what they do to others.
what's so sad was she actually showed me she had a daughter, she had a little daughter, and not that the little daughter passed to the jail, but she was just giving me some memories of her life. So she would come and go from the jail. She would go there and cook and go back home. And so she's foregoing seeing her daughter again when she crosses over. She's foregoing that to say, no, I did this to these men. It's my job to stay.
Yeah. So
So
let me ask you, how much of that is something that somebody brings on themselves? Like, how much of that is a karmic debt you have to pay compared to what you feel you have to pay?
where she is at that, and again, this is from my understanding, I could be totally wrong. From my understanding, the space that she is still residing in is not a place where any karma can be paid back.
So it's just a mental, like you said, a
It's just a
mental loop,
pause. She's
right?
just, yes, she has just put everything on pause.
Yeah, because
But
I've heard that a lot of people that when they die of a drug addiction, like people that overdose and stuff like this, when you see what we're going on in this country,
mhm,
that they never know they died. They go to sleep and they never know it.
yeah,
You know, it's
I've
like,
had two.
and then they grasp on the people that have addictions, right? They just they don't even know what they're doing. They just jump on the back of other people with addictions because they love that energy.
Mhm. They
I
will
mean, is that
also grab they will also grab onto people that had no addiction prior, but they have a weakened auric field, and then they will take them over, and that person will then have an addiction. And
Oh.
you meet some of these people where that addiction came out of nowhere. Like, Johnny was never like that. I have no idea where this came from. I had somebody come and see me, and they were expressing this, and it was not with drugs, it was with alcohol. And I just looked at them and I said, when was the last time you went to a music concert? Because I just saw it. I just saw it. And I'm like, that's not you. This is something is it latched onto you for a ride, and they're now still living off of you. And that's where this addiction came out of nowhere.
Can I just ask real
well,
quick? So the energies that latching onto people, that's a part of us. That's our spirit. That's the spirit. Sorry, the soul of us, right? That's really powerful. But if we ourselves don't understand our spirit or our power, that's how they latch on, right? That's because we're weak in our own understanding of our own um, sovereignty, so to speak. So when they latch on, that's why they're able to then take the wheel, and then we have these experience of addiction that are not actually ours. And for me and Jimmy, we're learning our own mediumship, we're learning our own intuitive gifts, and I'm actually noticing in real time things that are happening to me, like thoughts or family members are trying to so-called attack. I don't know how to say it in spiritual terms. I'm going to try and say it so that the viewers listening understand it. But I recently learned about entities and attachments and
energy,
cycles.
an energy attack, you mean?
Yeah, all of it, the entities. So say they can't, because I know who I am, and I know that I'm sovereign, and I know that I have gifts as much as everybody else does. I'm aware of it, right? So I have that power that I'm stepping into, whereas the person down the road might not. So the entities may be attached to them, so to speak, whereas for myself, they're not attached to me, they're attached to the people around me who aren't aware of their power and their sovereignty. So in a sense, that's how they try to attack those of us who are in our power, right? And I can see it. I'm like, you've got an entity, you're trying to piss me off, you're trying to attack me. And I'm like, ew. And you can't talk about it. I'm not going to go up to someone and you have an entity that's trying to piss me off, because I'm noticing it. So what are your thoughts on that? Am I going crazy, or is this an actual thing?
Well,
A
no,
little
no,
both.
yeah, I don't like the word crazy at all.
Right?
At all.
I'm only kidding. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, no, even though I will say, like, that person is smack out crazy. But no, it's really interesting, because I feel that when you first begin to awaken, I'm literally going to do this because I want them to give this to me the right way. when you're first beginning to awaken, and they're literally showing me like boom, 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 like they're doing this like alignment, like you're starting to come in alignment. And so like when it's like when you're lining things up on the track, and when you do that, then there's a light that goes ding, like, all right, now this track can move, now this can go, like, whoop, you just turned on. When you do that, your auric field, they're like giving this to me, your auric field all of a sudden, instead of just kind of like going boom, 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 you know, when it becomes an alignment, it goes boom, like this, right? You're like, and your inner light then, like your torus field, begins to like really spin because you're now in alignment, right? Because everything is now beginning to flow. So you are just like this beautiful honeysuckle flower that just smells divine. But so what can happen is when you are first in this space, like, oh my gosh, I can see things, I can feel things, like, what is this? And I'm doing all this, and oh my, I can feel this. And so you're almost like in this very much excited childlike state, which is a beautiful thing because that's where all creation comes from. But you are now looked at by so many different entities, so many different, I even want to say like realms, because it is like, oh, she is now yummy delicious. And I actually just, this came through in a session a couple days ago, the importance of we as Terrans, I don't really, human doesn't really resonate, like Terrans, we don't really realize, because we are just this beautifully designed species, our creativeness, our expansiveness, we don't truly understand how wide and expansive our auric field is. We just don't. And so like these light beings were just showing this to me, and we can talk about shielding and grounding a lot, but how they were explaining to me is a lot of times when we look at a shield, we revert back to the pictures and what's been modeled to us, much like a Roman soldier, right? You just put a shield right here, and it just covers like essentially from the throat down to the stomach, right? Because we're going to protect these organs, shielded. What they're saying is, no, your shield needs to go at least 5 foot up, and it needs to go a foot down into the ground. And when you put that shield into the ground, it's almost like plugging in a USB cord, right? So like, so when your shield is going to foot down into there, you are literally plugged into the grid. You are plugged into the energy field here. And it's almost like a whoop, like you put it down, whoop, you stack it up, and it goes, and it goes out, and it's stacked. And it's just this huge vibrational shield. And then nothing can come in around that.
How
and so
does
that's what they
one
were showing.
tap into the grid, so to speak? Like, would you say grounding, meditation?
Intention.
Okay.
Intention.
I
So
can
I mean,
see the
Knowing you're
grid you're
doing it.
talking about. It's a luminescence, like it's opening up around me right now. I can feel it and see it.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
wild.
So, I mean, everything they've always told me is it is extremely simple. I will
Yeah.
never speak in complex terms, because that when you go into those eras, that's when you start bringing people up into the monkey mind and logos. And that is not where creation and energy happens. It is so simple.
Mm.
It is as simple as a thought.
I love that.
Well,
See,
that's what I'm sorry. That's what Einstein once said. If you understand a subject, you can explain it to a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
He said it in a different way, to sound more professional. But if you understand something well enough, you don't have to use big words.
I
You
knew
can
that dude
explain.
was channeling all this time. Him, Tesla, all of those creative, very smart, intelligent men back in that day. I knew they were channeling. You can't not.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't say men.
A favorite thing I like to do with some of my kids is when there's an artist in music, you can feel whether it's been channeled or if it's just been, made in a studio and pieced together, or it's a low vibrational being attempting to be creative.
Right.
You can feel it.
I was just going to say, it's the goosebumps. When you go and listen to this incredible song and you're like, oh, I'm buzzing. That's the good vibes.
That's the good, and you can just
That-
feel it. I went to a concert, and it was Andy Grammer, and I knew some of his songs, but I had never really honed in or paid attention to him. And we went to this concert venue. It was very tall. It's very tiny. I mean, very, small and tiny, downtown Charleston, maybe like 75 people, 100 people. It was very tiny. But I think I had tears rolling down my face for about 6 or 7 of his songs because I could just feel that they came channeled straight from source, just these most beautiful lyrics. And he was, just being an artist and telling the story behind each of the songs. And so I just looked at my kids and I'm like, this is straight channeled. Straight channeled. Like he has a good heart. So
Speaking of channeling,
I have that same thing. I have that same stuff with music. It makes me so emotional since I was a child. Like I've been on stage where I used to play, saxophone as a kid. And I've been on stage where I didn't know the music, but it just hit you where I couldn't stop crying. Like
oh,
just
I know.
that's
Hits
what
you right in the
that's what
heart.
audio does to certain people. Like everybody loves music, but then there's people that really get engrossed in it. Like they
yeah.
understand something deeper than other people do.
Yeah.
You know? And I don't
It's
mean
one of the
to.
quickest. It's one of the quickest outside of telepathy of communication.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sound.
I was just
I
gonna
never thought of that.
say, well, I was just
Oh
gonna
shit!
say that same thing is like you don't even really need lyrics when you hear like a violin playing or a computer. Oh my God. A piano.
There you go.
My fingers are going before my brain, sorry. Um, I'm a bit
You
sick,
made it up.
guys. Um,
You did it.
but yeah, it's like you understand the language of it because you feel it, right?
Yeah, it
Feeling.
is a language.
And you
It is like
yourself, you do light language as well. I on your podcast, I think it's the Burnt Witches. Is that
witches.
the song at the beginning is really empowering. Like it touched me to my soul. I was like, wow, who is this girl?
That came that's actually the chorus of that came channeled into me. I was obviously in the shower, like so much comes in when you're in the shower because
Oh,
the water.
right.
And
There you go, Nat.
the beat of that, and I literally it came in. I saw these bare feet like going boom, boom, and I like the leaves coming off of them, and then I saw a woman like standing in this cottage, and she can hear them just coming, and her heart is racing, and then it's just this fire lights up inside of her, and it was like, you can burn me all you want, but you'll never take me. I'm just gonna come back. I'm just gonna come back. And so anyway, when I sang in the shower, I actually, that first chorus when it came through so strong. I actually like damaged my vocal cords, and I couldn't sing for 3 more days.
Wow. Would
Oh,
you
no
say
kidding.
that on some level was you in a past life, and that's like your ancestors or the you in that timeline coming
100%.
back?
100%. 100%. That entire song
Oh,
is
wow.
essentially like my clarion song, right? It is my
Right.
huge
I
F
felt
you.
it, girl.
Wow.
And
I have to hear that.
so I went to the jailhouse, and so there was one woman that was hanged for witchcraft here in
Mm.
Charleston. Backstory being, she was just a housemaid that was having an affair with a more powerful man, and she threatened to tell his wife about it, and so he just said she was a witch.
Ooh.
So, but I went under. They've since taken it down. They did major renovations in the past 2 years, but I've been there before when it was still, the Hangman's Noose was still up, and so I went in that spot. This is at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I just belted out that Burnt Witches song underneath the Hangman's Noose.
Oh, could you imagine? I can literally feel goosebumps just thinking about it. That's amazing.
Yeah.
There's some type of connection with sound and connection to your higher self, to God's source, because I think back when I was a child, me and my friends used to hang out in this big drain thing, this massive drain, and I used to sit in there and I would sing, and I would just like I would let
Yeah.
the
Get the echo.
sounds, right, and I would do that for ages, and I loved it. And when I started doing that, I found some type of connection, and I was so curious. I wanted to know all the answers of the universe. I wanted to know. Here's another idea of what I was like when I was younger. We used to play tag, and whenever it was my turn, I would just stand there and be like, "You're it. I've got you because I'm touching the ground, that's touching the tree, that's touching the roof, that's touching the pole that your hand is touching, meaning that we are connected and I've tagged you." Right? So
We are one.
I always look back at that and I think, man, I think I was onto something when I was younger. I think I was quite connected, but I didn't realize it until now that I look back at it.
You understood something you couldn't understand at the time.
Yeah, and that's a good key to, those who are trying to open up to, you don't have to understand everything, but you feel it and then you know it, and then it makes sense
Yes,
that
know it.
way, not logically, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's, and sometimes it's a little hard because you do have some people that because of trauma that they have dealt with, they actually don't trust their feelings. And
Yeah.
so that's sometimes something that you can work through with people that are in that space. But yes, I always say you feel it first, because a lot of people will ask me, well, aren't you scared for the different beings I've seen and or worked with and or experienced? And my answer is always no, because I felt them first.
Right.
My
There you
my
go.
heart and my body, like I feel the vibration of their resonance first, and then it's like I will literally go ooh, something like, and I breathe it in because my body is starting to vibrate higher. I'm like, ooh, yep, who's here? Yep, female. And I always feel like gender first. Yep, female, male. All right. Ooh, yep. Oh, yep, there you are. And then I can see them. And
I
so
just
that's
did that for the first time last night. I was like, because I'm learning mediumship,
mhm,
I feel like I have to have someone in front of me. But I was
mhm,
laying in bed and I'm like, whoop, I see you. I see your hair color. I'm like, wait, who are you? Why are you here? And I'm like, wait, that just happened. So
mhm.
does that happen to you quite often? And also to add to that, um, could it be possible that spirits are coming to me for a future reading to someone who I may connect to? They may be a past loved one of that person, only because I don't know who that was or who I'm talking to, and how do you know?
Yes, all of the above, all of the above. But what I will say next to that is, and now you got to get boundaries.
Oh yeah. Nice.
So, yeah, no, like I will, if somebody, I make everybody book a session through my website, because if they email me and we're starting to book through that, and maybe they're booking 3 weeks out, I will be front loaded for almost 3 weeks. And I
Wow.
don't want that. Like, I don't want to deal with what they are needing, because I can't hold that space for 3 weeks. I
Yeah.
mean, so yes, absolutely. In the
Oh
beginning, I
yeah.
have had to tell people, and I would feel into, oh, I think you're for so and so. Like I could feel into that and be like, no, 2 more days, dude. Like don't don't tell
Yeah.
me. And I tell them lovingly, like I'll forget. Like I come through in 2 days. I'm not talking to them right now. I'm actually living my life. They will literally come in when I'm brushing my teeth and doing my makeup in the bathroom a lot.
Wow.
Like I am
Yeah.
doing this right now. Show up at that time. I'm gonna forget anything you tell me right now.
Yeah.
And so no, I had one being come through, and it was a being. It wasn't spirit. It was a dimensional, and they came through. It was almost 1 a.m, and I literally like kind of woke up because I'm like, why is Michael at the foot of my bed? Because Archangel Michael was standing there. I'm like, why are you here? And he just was very calm and quiet. And then this portal opened up next to my bed, and out walked. And I knew who it was when they walked out. I'm gonna keep that private. But I'm like, why are you? And I'm like, look at my phone. I'm like, what? It is 12:45. And he's like, I know I need to talk to you. I need to talk to you. And I went, my business hours are from 9 to 6. I live in a space where time is a thing. You live in a place where time is not. Come back. It
Right.
was because my husband was asleep. I'm like, if I get up, I'm gonna wake him up. It was actually my husband's birthday the next day. I'm like, I'm not he'll be in an awful mood tomorrow. Like, no, like I'm not gonna wake him up because you need to talk. Come back tomorrow morning.
That's
So
funny. I had a question for you. I don't know why I was going to ask you, but you brought up your husband. I don't know why I wanted to ask you the question, but how does he feel about you with your intuitive gifts? Is he connected or not? Do you talk? Like, I don't know why I wanted to ask you that question.
that's okay. I'm totally fine with
That's a
that
good
question.
question.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is a really good question. I'm always interested too whenever I meet anyone that does this work. Like, so what's your home life like? Um,
Sorry.
when we first got engaged and married and moved in, I told him, I actually gave him a warning. I said, I'm just letting you know, like, to actually live with me is a completely different experience. Things get crazy. And he like,
Oh.
yeah, yeah, like whatever. I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like to actually live in my space, things get weird. And yeah, they did. They did. And for him, it was just normal for me. But because of myself and my kids' experiences, I mean, he has seen craft. He witnessed with all three of my kids and my husband. We watched for 45 minutes, two jet fighters literally be toyed with four craft. This is at 11:30
Awesome.
in this craft, just played games with two jet fighters. And so, I mean, my husband's seen it, he's heard it, he cannot deny it at all. So even though he doesn't practice it. Now what he has done is his psychic abilities have really leveled up, really, really leveled up. But I'm going to say that's almost because everyone's abilities are leveling up, all of these energies
Right.
coming in. We are all like weather, and that piggybacks that message of like of knowing how to shield the 5 feet up, because so we are all awakening. I'm sorry, but we are. I mean, the
Yeah.
ones who are meant to be. I don't know how the NPCs are faring, but
Love that.
so
I don't worry
it
about them either.
yeah.
Oh, I've
So I
seen
mean,
them.
it's
Fucking
wild.
weird.
It's so
Sorry.
wild when you encounter one. It's really it's wild when it's weird for
Yeah.
me when I see them. But
They defend the shit that keeps them imprisoned. It's the
they do.
funniest shit. It's
They
not funny,
do.
but it's the fact that you're trying to tell those people, listen, you're in a mental prison. And then when you tell them, they defend the prison.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
they're just that how it feels to me is a lot of people argue, Abby, they're not robots. I'm like, no, they're not robots. They're physical beings. They are
Yeah.
living here. They are having existence. They just don't have soul purpose. They don't
Mm.
have a driving force.
yeah.
They don't have something that they are actively working towards. They're just existing. Every day is just an existence. There's no
Yeah.
forward momentum or growth.
Life
So,
happens to them instead of
yeah.
for them.
It's almost
Yeah.
like they are the runners of the matrix that we're coming away from. You can't necessarily escape it, but something's controlling it. And it's those who are not online yet. And they're probably, maybe that's their soul plan. Is that a thing? Can you have a soul plan and come here to 3D and have to be a part of the matrix and not wake up? Is that a thing or?
I would never say no, that would never happen.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that's the
If it's
game.
possible, it's happening.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you want to see. I always want to chuckle because sometimes it's some of the most advanced beings, the most advanced beings, and I'm like, wait, what are you doing here? Like, shit, you just sorry, I didn't mean to curse. You just came here just to see if you could do it, just for the fun of it, because they were so bored, and they're like, I bet I can. Oh, I'll take that bet. I bet you can't break out of that matrix. I can totally do it. Whoop! They come down here to see. It's just a game. It's just a
Damn.
game.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, I
That's
never want to
that's
say like
that's
never
how I
say
look
never.
about I look at this whole reality as just a physical video game. Like we log into this thing every morning when we wake up.
I'm
Like
thinking of Mario
and
getting the coins.
you know,
Da-ding,
and
da-ding.
it's yeah, it's just seems to me like anything you think about, anything like when Natalie and I talk, it just starts happening. Like
It
we dream
does.
together and the shit just happens. Like
Like
it
we
unfolds in front of you.
manifest.
Yeah.
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 Like as soon as you get past the point where it seems like when you stop living for other people's approval and you stop
Mhm.
lying and things like this, when you start being honest about the reality you're in,
When you start
reality
being
works.
authentic.
Yeah, it works for you.
Mm.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
it just that's the way I think of
Yeah.
it.
I've been I've been over the past few years I have got into that place of like, okay, if this is a game, I'm gonna make this as fun as I can make it. And
Yeah.
I'm just gonna
Yeah.
try. I'm gonna just try out. I'm gonna try out different programs and see how that. The most recent one that I've been playing in, and I've had amazing results, is when somebody asks you, and it's not like a friend or family. This is a complete stranger that you encounter. If they ask me, "How are you doing today?" I have to be honest with them.
Oh,
How's
shit.
that work out?
And
I
so
feel like shit.
True.
Sorry.
Like own it. Absolutely own everything. And I now granted, like, I'm not giving them, TMI, but I'm gonna tell them, actually today's been a pretty stressful day. And like I had run errands and I encountered a really crappy person and blah blah. So, you know, but what I am seeing happen is they instantly want to know more. They instantly relate. They instantly, you can feel their energy field merges immediately with mine, and then
Yeah.
they share, and then the connection that we then two have, and at the end of it it's like, we are just craving this human experience, and we're all
Mhm.
having it, and we're all in this human soup together. And the more that we break down these fake facades of like, I'm fine, thanks for
Yeah.
asking, blah blah blah, and all this mundane, when you start breaking down that robot program, people, they take off those shields, and they're craving the humanity of it.
I'm
Yeah.
fucking
Immediately.
buzzing right now. You just spoke to my soul, and
Yeah.
I'm
So
gonna
I'll
do
tell you.
that.
So I'll
That's
tell
a
you what.
fact of
So
reality.
can you see like on my note, like see this like line here? I have a huge indent. I broke my nose
Mhm.
2 weeks ago.
Oh, I
My last
saw that. You put, yeah, yeah.
It was so bad. Like it's literally the bone's chipped. It's permanently indented here. So at any rate, I looked like I was in the Fight Club and black eye, and I like went everywhere. I will tell you, I got some of the best stories from other people. Because they would be looking at me, and so I would just tell them like really quick story, like, yeah, laptop, who knows that would happen. And they always came back with, oh my gosh, one time this happened. I got the best stories ever. And we were all people were dying laughing. And it took away any aspect of like, oh, I don't want people to see me. Oh, this is embarrassing. Heck no, I
Yeah.
owned it. I owned it, and everybody else owned it. And it was hilarious, and I loved it.
Hmm. Hey, listen, I got to tell you, I've been telling Natalie for a few days. The most impressive thing is when she shows me pictures when she doesn't have makeup on and all that other stuff.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
when you're being
Yep.
honest with me, I don't feel so ridiculous about myself, right? I know all my imperfections. And when I see other people, they're out there on the internet and they're showing this perfect life. Like when you finally show the real you, it makes us all feel like we're on this earth together.
Absolutely.
That's so
100.
That's
interesting that I like touched your soul in a way sending you that picture. I can't even remember what that was about. I like just woke up and I was like, this is me. Let's
Yeah,
go.
it was the best thing I ever saw. I
Yeah.
just wanted to see reality. That's all,
Mhm.
Aw, there you
Yeah,
go.
you
I
know.
know. My kids gave me so much slack because they saw that I posted that picture online of my face being busted, and they were dying laughing like, why would you post that, mom? Like, you're number one, they're like, you're so ridiculous. But number two, like, why would you do that? I go, because it's real, because
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
happened, and I found
because
it
it
to be
makes other people
hilarious.
feel comfortable.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Oh,
Yeah.
That's
right.
really what it does. It makes other people know that the faults they have are not as rare as they really are. Like it's common. We all have these faults, and when people sit there and hide them, everybody feels like you're ostracized,
Yeah.
because everybody seems perfect in their own little whatever
Bubble.
bullshit. Yeah, bubble. But we're not. And I think when every time I see somebody being honest, I bow down to them. It's like finally I'm seeing somebody that's a human being,
Yeah.
Yeah. And
That's-
and especially within this spiritual community, that it just like
Yeah.
I'm all love and light, and I meditate every single day, and
Uh,
I work out, and I never watch TV, and I never do this. You're like, oh my God, that's so not real. Whoa, really? Like you are
thank,
always up like vibing in here,
thank
and
you
you
for
never
saying
you
that.
never have a bad day. You never just want to be like motherfucker, it just gets so mad
Oh,
and so
thank God you
like
just said that. I fucking love that right now. Let's be honest for a minute. I had a shit day yesterday. I complained to Jimmy. I was like, fuck everything. I'm done. And then I dealt with the thing and here I am again. I'm like, let's go.
Yeah, yeah. Just yesterday, she wanted to shut the podcast down. She's like, I'm tired of this shit. And I'm like, well,
yeah.
Yeah, I
yeah,
had like a
yeah,
full-on meltdown. And then I think it was
yeah,
like an
relax
hour
that.
or so later. I was like, no, we're good. Let's go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's real. And when you do that, people they don't seem like they're in another reality. Like they don't seem like they're so
Mhm.
odd to people.
I
Yeah.
know. I
No,
was talking to
I
I was
don't.
talking to I was talking to somebody, and it was about one of my dimensional family members, and
So awesome.
I was just sharing like how they were really upset, and they're kind of ranting to me a little bit, and we were kind of in a semi argument, and they're like, whoa, they don't get angry in 5D 6D. That's not real. I'm like, yeah, they do. They absolutely do. They have all the like, if I can leave that with anybody, don't put like these on pedestals.
Right.
No, they're still beings, but the tools that they have is the difference is they can cycle through those emotions so much quicker, and they don't get stuck in them. Like
Yeah,
they can get angry and be like,
they're not
like
attached.
this is not right. Okay, now how can we fix it? Like then they can alchemize it that much faster. They don't, we're here in the 3D. We can take, like one of my guides said, like so often people take what was supposed to be the teaching moment to their trauma, their whole story. And then they get stuck in that for 40 years, and they just keep playing and playing. I'm like, that was meant to be
Yeah.
one teachable
Yeah.
lesson. Then whoop, you get over it and you keep going.
Yeah.
The why did this happen to me instead of why did it happen for me?
Right.
Correct. Love that.
Right?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
I was
Yeah.
just thinking about that last night. We tend to do this every time we have someone come on the
Yeah, we
podcast.
do.
It's almost like we fucking talk about it. We're thinking about it. It happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just thinking
Abby,
about
we
that.
talked about you before we met you.
Yep, there you go.
We had this conversation already.
There you
No, but
go.
Yeah.
listen, I gotta tell you something. What you're saying right there is perfect because I had a year ago I had a channeling experience where I had spoke with Jesus, and he told me basically the biggest part of it is that everybody bows down, like the church teaches you that Jesus is this one perfect being. And part he says is that we're there to be the example for you to strive to be like us, not the fact that I'm the one
Mhm.
child of God, right? The one perfect one. We all are childs of God if we choose to be. And
Mhm.
he's like, I'm the example. Buddha's the example. Muhammad's the example for whoever you like to strive to be like in this reality. It's not an unattainable goal,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like the way the
Yeah.
church makes you perceive it to be. That
Yeah.
was his biggest message. Like they're
Yeah.
lying,
And
just
to piggyback on that real quick too, it says in the Bible, I'm not, you know, religious or anything like that, but it says in the Bible to love your neighbor as you love yourself. So you got to really look at that. You've got to love yourself first and then love your neighbor the way you love yourself, right? That's important. Because if you're not happy within yourself and you're making these friendships and there's all this bullshit going on, you wonder like, oh, is it something within myself that I need to look at? Oh, that makes sense. So looking within, and that's when you attract your soul tribe and the like-minded people, and you expand from there. You co-create from there. So yeah.
Yeah, it's so true. And you know, one of the reasons it's so good when you can finally come, not that it's necessary, because you know, energy is quantum, it's everywhere. But when you are able to come in person with star family, especially like with people, other people who are awakened, it really is like batteries linking up, boom, 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 and just the experiences are greater. You can, so I have one friend that I enjoy working with, and she and I can go into an environment and we're like, oh, do you see that color? Yep, she's wearing a white dress. Oh, do you see that blue ribbon? Yep, I see the blue ribbon. Do you see her brown hair? Yes. Oh, and she's saying this. Oh, you know, now I'm hearing her sing. Like, because we're both tapping in, and then just this whole entire being will just boom come in there, and the messages go boom, 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 and we're piggybacking, 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 and
Yeah.
then when that happens, then we get even more. So we're in the woods. I went in the woods with her in Grafton, Illinois, for the Journey to Truth conference, and we were connecting with Sasquatch, and we did that almost every single night that we were there with a very small group of people. But yeah, and it worked very similar. We were just coming in and connecting and getting, and you know, we would come into the field. So I was explaining it to somebody else, and they appreciated this method being explained. So I'll explain it to your audience. So when I will go into, I was in the woods up in the mountains, and you can feel the energy, like, right, like I was like, yep, there's a lot of Sasquatch here, I can feel them, but I didn't necessarily know where they were at. So I put my hand on a tree and I close my eyes, and I literally, it's sending a boom, 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 and I'm expanding my energy field out and forward. And so it's like echolocation, the thought of echolocation, but I'm not pushing out sound, I'm pushing out energy. And so when I'm boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom, I'm waiting to see where it comes back.
I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen
And
that.
and as I'm doing that, it's like I'm sitting there, I'm like, yep, I got one right here. There's two over here, and oh, there's another one that's over here, because I'm blasting almost like this white light in a way, right? And then I'm seeing where the shadows are coming back, where these beings are at, and then once then I connect in with them. So,
When you do the vroom, 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 are you like expanding into your energetic field and then connecting with Sasquatch energetic field, and that's where the communication is?
Yeah. Yes.
That's amazing.
And I push out from my heart. I'm
Yeah.
not pushing out from my mind. I'm pushing out from my heart, because I'm wanting, number one, for them to, the best way for them to read me, right? And I'm okay with that. And the heart frequency is also a protection barrier as well, because if it is something that's not for my highest good, they're going to run. When I'm blasting out that heart frequency out and they're negative, they're going to scatter.
Would you say you
So
drop into your heart to do that? Because you know how your awareness is up here, you're all up here.
Yeah.
Do you like drop that down, or do you just like feel into that expansion from the heart space? It's hard to explain.
Well, no, so I want to say where I'm at, it's all blended.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I've done it so much, it's all in a blend. But if I were to teach it to someone new, I would say to drop into the heart, and then
Yeah.
once that expanded, then go back up.
Right. Use all senses at the same time. Yeah.
So when you say you're speaking from your heart, so whenever I do it, I'm always focused on my third eye. You're drawing it out from this center.
Well, no, I don't speak from there. That's where the energy is coming out. That's where my light's coming out. No, I speak everything up through my third eye.
But where do you feel it? Because whenever I do it, I'm always feeling it up in that area there. Like I almost look up and, you know.
It comes in as such a full blend right now that I wish I could say where it's all, it's always come in as a complete blend.
It's almost like you step you step out of the way and then everything
Yeah.
else just takes over and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
whoa, I'm feeling all of these different emotions, feelings, senses and things like that. You're operating on all senses at the same time, but it's really just from the heart space, that
Yeah.
field that
I
expands outwards. Yeah.
Yeah. And like
I saw. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I feel them first. So yes, I guess I would say like I do. This is how I vet. I vet through the heart. So I feel them first, and then I come up, and it's a complete blend of all my clairs.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always saw the vision I saw. Okay, so when I saw my third eye when I had a clearing, I actually saw it move around and all and like look at me, but it was golden. What happened was, so if that's the dark blue up here, light blue, dark blue, and in your heart's green, saw a golden line going from my third eye to my heart. Like they're connected in a golden type of angelic connection.
Yeah.
Like even when you're using this, your heart's connected anyhow.
Yeah.
Is the interpretation I took to that. If
Yes.
that's how you all
Yes.
feel? I don't know.
Yes. That's in alignment. So when I'm doing energy work, you want those chakras to be in alignment, and I will. So if a body is laying flat like this, right? So and if I want your heart, I swoop it like this, right? So here's your throat. If I'm on your throat chakra in your heart, I'm sending the energy like voom 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 because it's opening up, because it's flowing. And then if I want your heart, I want you to see things through your heart, right? Because then it's pure. It's the knowingness is coming. It's a purity. So I go over here and I'm on your third eye. I'm literally sending heart energy, voom, like a skipping rope, like voom voom. And this is how I bring in that alignment, because you're essentially creating this open channel, this tube of the communication is feel it here, swoop up. Now I'm seeing it through here.
Right.
Makes any sense.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Like a pulsing, is that I've noticed a lot of stuff when you make it pulse, like when you say set your intentions.
Mm-hmm.
So if I do focus on my third eye or my heart or whatever chakra, if I set the attention to make it pulse, it is so much more powerful instead of just expecting it. Is that something you do?
Yeah, I feel almost for the third eye, it needs to be a slow pulse, like a like, bringing that pulse a little bit slower, where the heart might be a little bit of a quicker pulse if you're really wanting to do it. But I feel like with the third eye, because it's just so gentle, the third eye just needs to be such a gentle opening. It does a gentle expansion, so that the body has enough time to regulate and interpret what it's seeing.
Yeah, that's right. Because the way that it starts to begin, or in my case, it's almost like I start to see something, but it's like it's not fully there yet. And then I've got to let it come, because the minute you start to analyze it, that gone. So I'm like, oh,
Yeah, it is.
I see something. Don't think, just let it happen. Yeah, it's really interesting. It's really cool to hear you explain it in language, because it's something that when you experience it, it's almost hard to explain in language, these gifts.
It's really, really hard. There's a lot of concepts that come in from other dimensions that it is sometimes nearly impossible to put it into English. And I think that's one of the reasons why in my healings now I'm just doing light language through it, because there aren't words. And the more I've spoken different languages, the more I realize that the English language, I think there's a reason why it was chosen as to be the broadly accepted one, because it truly is a very slave language. It keeps our energy very stifled and small. But yeah.
All right. Well, it is getting to the end of the hour. Would you be able to share with the viewers a little bit about what you do, how they can find you? But also, I would love it if you would be willing to share just a little bit of your light language as well, if that's something you're open to doing.
Sure, of course I can do that. So I would love to tell everybody, if anyone is interested, I still have a few spots open. I'm doing Egypt. In March 2025, I'm going to be co-leading a 2-week long pilgrimage all throughout Egypt at all the sacred sites. And the way that this is, we're keeping our group very small, so only 20 people, and that is so that the energy can be more
Yeah.
within flow. But this is going there to do toning and channeling and connect in with the land and getting, channeled messages through it. So it's not there to be, oh, this is the pyramid and it was built in that year. It's the whole thing is to go, we're going after hours into the pyramids when everything is closed. We're doing the majority of our work when there are no tourists, no lights, like going into between the Sphinx falls. We're gonna do that at 1 a.m, and we're gonna be doing toning
Wow.
there. 7 days of the trip, we're gonna be on a boat on the Nile, going to the different islands, and this is again for a purpose because there limited light, limited electricity, getting away from people. We're gonna have our own boat. It's just us for our group, so we can wake up in the mornings and do light meditation or some body movement, and then we can go and enjoy Egypt. So I still have a few
Wow.
spots open for that. So if anyone is feeling called, please reach out to me. It's Abby at abbylynn.co. It's my email address. Would love to have you. It is going to be
That sounds awesome.
I'll put the link in the description below, box
perfect,
below as well. Yeah.
perfect,
Especially when you
perfect.
kept it small like that. So you keep
Yeah.
everybody in a little cohesive unit. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep. So, and the people who have already signed up are just beautiful, beautiful souls going already. So it's going to be a very special, special
Wow.
time.
You've never been
Um,
there? Never been out anywhere near there? No?
no.
Wow, girl.
Neither have I. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I did my toning at a conference in Chicago. It was a global pyramid conference, and I opened up the conference doing just a 20-minute channeled toning, and the Egyptologist that was there invited me to come and lead this.
Oh.
Wow. All right. So if you don't mind, maybe you could share a little bit of your light language before we go, and maybe share it with the viewers watching, just a little bit about what you do as well. And yeah.
Oh, sure. So, yeah, so again, Egypt, if you guys feel called, and for I do readings, readings, energy clearing, sound activations. Um, that's what I do right now. And podcasts from time to time. I pop one up when I'm feeling called.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You have a partner too, right? Don't you have a friend, Heidi?
no, no,
Oh no?
nope, nope. That was prior. I don't do that podcast anymore.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, no, that's okay. Yeah,
We'll edit that
so
out.
Um, and then I'm starting to plan. I just held a workshop here in Charleston, but starting to plan and run retreats and workshops. So I love to
Wow.
teach.
Wow.
I love teaching, holding space, giving any type of tools that I can share to help people through this, as they are awakening. They just truly are. All of our bodies are, and so often you're left in a space of what's the right next step for me? What does this process look like? I know that the classes that I took, the courses that I took were invaluable for me.
Yeah.
And along the way, I've met beautiful people that some of them I still work with today. And so everything is in alignment. And really, when stepped into this work, my ethics are the most important. My integrity is the most important.
Yeah.
And so it's the continual learning process of bringing in as many tools into my toolbox so that when I do have a client there, I'm able to shift and go where I'm needing to in order to best serve them.
Yeah, because you're a light worker, you're a channeler, you're a psychic medium. You also do bilocation, remote viewing. It's almost like you do all of these different types of senses in order to tap in whichever way you're needed. So I just admire that. I love it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and even so, I had someone coming to me for a 30-minute read, and where they came in, my guide said they don't believe in any of this. Like, you
Right.
cannot do a reading. They don't believe, they're not comfortable, they don't believe in any of this. And so I just shifted. I'm like, okay, so I did a guided meditation. And through that, through that guided meditation, they were able to, because they were then so comfortable and they felt safe, that then it turned into like a quick little 5-minute read, and it was exactly what they were needing to hear at that time. So
Wow.
it's just, that's why I encourage anybody. It's good to take the little classes and to learn the different tools, and because again, it all comes from the same space. It truly does. I mean, there's mediums are like, oh, I'm not a psychic, but you work psychically in mediumship as well. Even if I'm working with a spirit, right? I'm still actually tapping into that spirit's energy. I'm tapping into that dimensional being's energy psychically, because that's what psychic is, right? You're just connecting my energy into yours. I'm reading your energy field right now. And I'm using all of my senses to get information from you. So you're like, I don't know, it's just funny because it all comes from the same place.
Right? It's amazing. I love it. The more and more I learn, I realize we're not just, there's no labels, there's no boxes. It's just open and expansive and it's wonderful. And just when you think you knew everything, that's when you realize I really don't know anything.
That's
And that's
right.
what makes it fun. So,
Correct.
yeah.
Yes. Correct. So I'm already like looking at my next thing that I'm going to go get training on. So I'm looking into the somatic, the body movement to get,
Oh, yeah.
so many people's nervous systems are just like locked. So, all right. So how can the body with movement, almost like a Qigong movements, but get that energy out of them, which is stuck in there. So anyways.
Oh,
So.
I'll be coming to you then. Help me. I love
Then,
that.
once you get the tangible somatic portion of it, then you can pull in all the other goodies that, I have. So, yeah, it's fun. Keep exploring. Everyone, keep exploring, keep learning. Go where you're led to and just say yes. Yes, 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 yes. And
Yeah.
don't worry about where it's leading you. That's probably the best thing I did is like I did not have any thought as to where this is leading me. I just knew it was leading me home. I just knew it was leading me where I needed to go. I just had to say yes.
That's
And
beautiful.
also tell the truth.
Yes.
There you go.
I love that. I'm gonna do that this week, and I'll talk about it again, maybe my next podcast or in a week's time, and see how we go.
I love
Because
that it's leading you home.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
That part
absolutely,
of
absolutely,
that's the
absolutely.
truth. Like it always feels like you said, like you're going to some place you've always been, you
Yeah.
know, and it's
Yeah, you've
infinite.
already experienced it. You've already lived
Mhm.
every single moment before you came. You're just remembering. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So I'll do the channeled. I'm sorry. I know that we were a little bit past the hour. Um, so I pulled in before I start any podcast. I always just kind of just ask, what's a message to share? And the word surrender came in so strongly. The importance of truly surrendering into some of these energies and these waves that we're stepping into. And I just pulled a card really quick, and it said Star Family, like Star Family pulled up.
ah,
I mean, so fitting. But then also Hiereth, and it's, oh, you can't see it, but longing for home, just a longing for home.
oh,
So
How
just,
about that?
just beautiful cards for support. And so that's probably going to be where I go. Light language for those who haven't experienced it before. I always say this is to be felt. It's not to be heard. The body will resonate. And so this is a series of toning frequencies and then language. And so I
right,
never know which order it's going to come into. But that's it.
yeah, all
Okay.
right.
All right. You guys, everyone at home, you guys just want to close your eyes and just take a nice, calming, deep breath in and release. Coming into this space now, another nice, slow, deep breath in.
I can't breathe through my nose.
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. We're just getting the body, just calm down. Just coming into this moment, coming into the body.
Grasene onomani keo sana makiasana une teana ukana usana kuna siana koni iono. Maseneono ki onek osana mosekiono mo ana ki asi ono makisiono nanakiana mona kiusheono. Yana hosane ohone oyane ono. Iko yano heye hana yane heye kero yane hane o heye ye ye ano ai. I hane ye hano ye hane. Oh, yano yane. Ike yane se ono yane akoi. Tike se no kona iano kusana munesena kuna kuna hiasana moneana kuse kun I asa hus kono no uke no hi asa no ki onu hasena kiana husanana uke seanono ukena seana umatiana ke se minakuna ikana yana na kiana na kiono hi asana kiana na kiono hasana ie ene yone kana yane ono yane Siko yono yane yana I hajano kiyo yone hie yo. Make you nu yane. Ke usene monasene kuse mosene kusana yakuna yana kiono manasia kana unne kiusana minese.
Wow. I was not expecting that. That was like amazing. That was divine. I can't thank you enough.
You're welcome. So actually, dragons came in for the beginning, and it was interesting. They actually were wanting to talk about the moon, and the energies coming in from there. And then it went up into angelics, and then they came in and they were like moving energy. So for us at home, the importance of just clearing out, make sure we're clearing out this energy because it just keeps on coming in waves. And so they're like and so just clearing out our pathways. They just said pathways. It's important to clear out our pathways.
I love that you said that because I was just thinking last night, I need to start clearing. I need to start clearing. And you just validated that for me. So thank you.
There you go.
I'm sorry. How much of what you did there was Native American in language and feel whatever happened there?
Are you asking me or are you asking Natalie?
Yeah, I'm asking you, like, how much
Oh.
of the language you just spoke there, because everything sounded like natural to me, and then I'm not even Native American, but it sounded like something I had heard
I
before.
saw your face when you opened your eyes. You were like, it's almost like you had some type of an epiphany, like home or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I had heard this before, even though I never heard this before. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
can you explain that?
Yeah. It's so sometimes in sessions, sometimes I will interpret, but the majority of the time now they're like, no, they need to hear this language because it's a home language for them, or they've had a lifetime in that language, and that's why it resonates so deeply, is because the soul has heard it before.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got into this rhythm where I felt like a king cobra. You ever see a king cobra that does like this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It just flows back like that. Like I got into that rhythm. It was like I'd been there before.
Yeah.
It sounds
Wow.
crazy. I'd never heard this or nothing. I swear to you, but I felt that,
I
man.
think you've been awakened
I mean
there,
to call
Jimmy.
you.
You may have to
I mean to
explore
call you a
that.
man. I just never mind. We'll get off the subject. I'm sorry.
No.
That was
Yeah.
beautiful. Is what I
It
meant to say.
was. It really was. And I can't thank you enough. Like that's a lot of energy transfer there. So we just want to let you know we absolutely appreciate you and we thank you so much for sharing your gift, your wisdom, and your knowledge with us. And yeah, we can't wait to have you back again in the near future and just yeah.
Absolutely. I wish both of you guys
Yeah.
so much success in spreading the word, and thank you so much for stepping into this work. It's vital, it's very important, and I really appreciate both of you guys. I've been seeing you have beautiful guests on, so thank you so much for holding that space for them.
Oh wow. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
being here. It's an honor to meet you, by the way. I've seen
Yeah.
you around for a long time. It's an honor to
Absolutely.
speak with you.